Personal protective equipment. Employers must protect employees from workplace hazards. And personal protective equipment is your last line of defense. Before personal protective equipment is analyzed, it's very important to apply all engineering and work practice controls to eliminate or reduce the hazard. Remember, personal protective equipment is your last level of control. Engineering controls. Engineering controls is when you take the work, machine, or the work environment and you change it to prevent the hazard altogether. If it can be eliminated with an engineering control, that's our first line of defense. Examples of engineering controls, as the name implies, would be to substitute less harmful materials, change the design of the machine to eliminate the hazard altogether, or change a process. You can enclose the process with machine guards. You could also isolate the process so there's no people or anybody in the area where the work is being performed. And you could also provide ventilation to remove the hazardous vapors and fumes. Work practice controls. These are procedures that can be used to eliminate or reduce the hazard. That can be eliminated with work practice controls. This is our second line of defense before we apply personal protective equipment. Examples of work practice controls to reduce or eliminate risk of hazards would be using water while cutting concrete to control the dust and eliminate exposure to silica. Washing your hands after using chemicals is an example of personal hygiene procedures. And keeping your work area picked up and clean is an example of a housekeeping procedure to prevent slips, trips, and falls. And job rotation is an example of a job, if it was highly repetitive, that you could implement so that you could reduce exposure to problems with overuse injuries like carpal tunnel and tendonitis. PPE. Examples of this would be safety glasses, goggles, face shields, hard hats, safety shoes, gloves, high visibility vests, chemical protective suits, earplugs, and respirators. There are several steps in developing a personal protective equipment program. First, we need to assess each job and determine the hazards and which PPE is necessary for performing the job. This is called a job hazard analysis. After PPE has been selected, the employer must provide training for how to properly use the PPE. Employers must be trained when the PPE should be used, how to properly put it on, take it off, how to adjust it. We also need to be sure that employees know the limitations of the PPE, its useful life, and how to properly care for and dispose of the PPE. Eye protection is critical. You must protect your eyes from radiation, liquids, objects that could puncture or damage the eye. Over the years, I've personally seen a lot of eye injuries with a wide range of hazards. Dust or flying particles such as metal shavings or sawdust. Acids and caustics can cause severe burns and almost immediate damage to the eye. In some industries, such as the medical field or when performing first aid, blood and other bodily fluids can transmit disease. And you have intense light from welding and lasers that can burn and permanently damage the eye. Safety glasses provide a good level of protection for many of the hazards regarding flying objects. Goggles provide the best protection from liquid hazards such as chemicals. Welding shields provide adequate protection for welders, but other workers in the area working around welding must also be protected. For people that are not actually welding but working in the area where there's welding, we must provide shields to protect them from the radiation and the light. Face shields protect the face and are often used in conjunction with other forms of eye protection. Face shields are not considered eye protection, but they do help prevent splashes up into the face if goggles are not available and safety glasses are being worn. Head protection. Small objects that seem insignificant can cause severe injury and even death when dropped from heights. Hard hats provide protection from falling objects, bumping your head on fixed objects, and even from electrical shock if you're wearing the right kind of hard hat. Classes of hard hats. You have a Class A, which is your general service hard hat. It's good for most workers. Provides protection from falling objects, but only very limited protection from electrical. Class B not only provides good protection from falling objects, but it also provides protection from electrical shock. And Class C is designed just for comfort, provides no protection from falling objects or electrical shock. Hearing protection. Hearing loss is permanent and cannot be reversed. How many elderly folks do you know that have a hard time hearing? Does your spouse or your children ever ask you to turn down the volume of the TV or the radio? If so, then you have some experience with hearing loss. Hearing protection works, but only if you understand how to properly wear it. Earplugs and earmuffs are examples of commonly used hearing protection. When putting in earplugs in your ears, it's critical that they fit tightly, and for this to be accomplished, you really need to pull the top of the ear up and backward with one hand while inserting the earplug with the other hand. This straightens the ear canal and allows the earplugs to enter deep enough to do their job. And if you're wearing earplugs and ear muffs, it's important to remove the piece of plastic string holding the two earplugs together, because if that piece of plastic string is coming out of the muff, it almost negates 100% the effectiveness of the ear muff. Foot protection. Steel-toe shoes provide excellent protection from things that could fall onto your toes. And don't be fooled by the false information about steel toes and fork trucks. I've personally seen demonstrations where fork trucks ran over steel-toed shoes and there was no damage at all to what would have been the toe on the inside of the shoe. What are some of the major causes of foot injuries? Heavy objects such as barrels or tools that might roll on top of the employee's foot, sharp objects such as nails or spikes, molten metal that could splash on top of the feet, hot or wet surfaces, and slippery surfaces. There are a wide variety of safety shoes available. There are shoes that can protect you from hot surfaces like roofs, metal insoles to protect from nails and provide comfort when working on ladders, and some shoes even provide an excellent level of protection from electrical shock. Metatarsal guards are used to protect the entire top of the foot. These are usually worn by iron workers who are at risk of heavy objects falling on the top of their feet. Hand protection. Gloves can be made from a wide variety of materials and can provide excellent protection from burns, bruises, cuts, punctures, amputations, and chemical exposure when you're exposed to chemicals that could absorb into your skin and be harmful to other body parts. Types of gloves. Door foil laminate resistant are good for breaking through a wide variety, protecting you from a wide variety of toxic and hazardous chemicals. Butyl provides the highest permeation resistance to gas or water vapors. They're frequently used with ketones like MEK, acetone, esters. There's a wide range of chemical resistant gloves. You should always refer to your MSDS sheets for the chemicals you're being exposed to determine the proper type of materials your gloves should be made from. Viton's highly resistant to chlorinated materials, and nitrile provides protection against a wide variety of solvents, harsh chemicals, fats, petroleum products, and resistance to cuts, snags, punctures, and abrasions at that. There are cut-resistant gloves also. Kevlar provides protection against cuts, slashes, and abrasions, and stainless steel mesh gloves provide excellent protection against cuts. Body protection. Body protection is often needed when workers work around intense heat, hot liquids, hazardous chemicals, when there's risk of contact with infectious body fluids, radiation, or for the protection from electrical arc flash. Body protection should be worn by welders in the form of welding coats, pants, and shoe covers, and anyone working around hazardous chemicals should wear the proper PPE to protect them in the event of a spill. It should be capable of repelling whatever chemical it is they're working with. That would include aprons, gloves, boots. Body protection should also be worn by anybody that's at risk of being exposed to a large spill of chemicals. This would include times of unloading chemical tankers or anything like that. Several different types of chemical exposure suits are available. You have coveralls made from Tyvek, and you also have full body suits that would provide good protection in the event of a spill of a really hazardous material. In summary, employers must assess their workplace for hazards and use engineering and procedural controls to eliminate or reduce the hazards before deciding which PPE should be applied. They should select appropriate PPE to protect their employees from hazards that can't be eliminated, and then inform their employees with training why the PPE is necessary, how to use and care for it, and how to recognize when it's not working any longer. And they must require their employees to wear the selected PPE in the workplace when they're performing these duties. There are other types of PPE available to protect you from fumes, vapors, and particulates. If you're exposed to fumes from welding, vapors from chemicals, or particulates from dust or silica, you'll receive an additional training for respirators. This has been Applied Risk Solutions, and we thank you.